Fingers crossed. Welcome back to From the Shed End. Welcome back to another episode of the podcast with myself, Theo, and the other Theo. How you doing, first of all?
I'm good. I'm good. I feel like this is the first time we're recording in 2026. I mean, for the viewers at home, we did try to record earlier in the year. We had a bumper episode. I think Liam Rosenior, all of his press conferences, all the news around Maresca. But
It was a
unfortunately, that
decent
episode never
episode.
saw. It was a very decent episode, yeah. But unfortunately, it never saw the light. We'll blame technology. But
OBS.
yeah, exactly. If you want to name drop.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm looking forward to this episode because it's been a long overdue. And I've got a lot of things to share. But how are you doing?
Yeah, no, I'm good. I'm good. I'm just recovering from Senegal versus Morocco. If anyone did not watch that
Oof.
game, it was probably, and I'm not even exaggerating. I'm not saying this because I want to sound like I'm, exaggerating a thing, but I've never watched a game of football with that much drama. It almost took me a little bit back to Chelsea Barcelona. That sort it was on that level. It was honestly on that level of just like sheer corruption, dodgy decisions, mental things happening in the game, after the game, in between the game, the pause of the game. So yeah, I've just finally calmed down from that. But apart from that, I'm good. Obviously, this is, as you said, our first recording of 2026. Take two. Obviously, we did try and do the podcast last week. Absolute chaos with the podcast. We've moved back to a different platform, so we should be having no issues from here on in. But a lot's happened. A lot's happened. We've got a new manager, Liam Rosenior, who's um, just started his career at Chelsea. I would say okay. I know there's a mixed opinions amongst the fan base about how well he's been doing or he's going to do at Chelsea. What's your initial thoughts? Obviously, we're going back to Charlton, Arsenal in the League Cup. Then we obviously had Brentford at the weekend. But what's your initial assessment of Liam Rosenior, and can you see any subtle changes to anything tactically that he's trying to do?
Yeah, I feel like it's only 3 games in, so it's really hard to kind of spot anything that's drastically changed. If I'm completely honest, it seems to be the same kind of patterns of play or same system that we're trying to play under Maresca. I think the main big difference is Sanchez, Jorgensen, whoever's in goal seems to be a lot higher up the pitch, almost like that 11th man, sometimes up in the midfield or halfway through our own half the pitch. Quite a unique stat is Liam Rosenior is the first ever Chelsea manager to have his first 4 games in 4 different competitions. So the FA Cup
Okay.
against Charlton, the League Cup against Arsenal,
Yeah.
Premier League against Brentford, and tonight the Champions League against Pafos. So I think it's quite a tricky but also good kind of run of games in a way that he maybe gets to play different players that have maybe been a bit frozen out or kind of on the fringes recently. But at the same time, I think we won't be able to see kind of his preferred 11, given it hasn't been 2 really important games where 2 big Premier League games. And I think, if I'm completely honest, I might regret saying this, but the next maybe run of games is going to be quite kind to him. I feel
Mm.
in the league, especially. I think we get to mid February, end of March, and then we've got Arsenal away from home
Yeah.
in the Premier League. But I think League Cup semi final, obviously against Arsenal. I think there's a few home games against West Ham and Leeds in there, and one against Burnley as well. I think we go
Yeah.
away to Crystal Palace, who have dropped a bit of form this weekend. So yeah, I don't want to jinx it, but so far so good. I'm liking what he's saying in the conferences. I enjoyed that at the start, but now I do feel he needs to back it a bit. You don't
Mm.
want it to just come across as like confidence, and he's not able to back it. I mean, if you're going to say something like Mourinho did, saying I'm the special one, he did back it. And now
Yeah.
when Rosenior is saying he doesn't feel the pressure is a privilege. It's time now that he backs this up and gets the results. Um, but yeah, I feel like was a bit pessimistic about this at first, but now that he's the man in charge, not the manager but the coach, we've got to
Yeah.
accept it, and we've got to back the man in the dugout.
I think that's a fair assessment. I think obviously I said to you offline that I feel like he does talk a good game, and that's not a bad thing. I think that's a very good thing in terms of I like that positivity, joking with the press and all the rest. I like that about a manager. He doesn't seem like a robot, and I feel like he's got his own personality and his own ideas that he's wanting to get across to the players and amongst his coaches and whatever else. But I do feel there becomes a point, like you said, that talking is one thing, but when you can't back that up with the results have to come in first before anything because you know I felt like Graham Potter was able to talk very well amongst the press when he first came into charge of the team. Thomas Tuchel done exactly the same. He had his famous lines around, driving us on a bus if he needed to during the COVID period. Um, I think with Liam Rosenior, I think he's got to be given, and I think this is one of the pluses. I think that he's worked with Blueco, the structure already to an extent at Strasbourg. My worry is that that's on a, and this is no disrespect to Strasbourg, but it's on a smaller scale to what Chelsea's expectations are. Chelsea is expected to go and win Champions League, Premier Leagues, be competing at the very top, chasing Arsenal, chasing City, chasing Liverpool for the Premier League. At Strasbourg, I think you can get away with one or two defeats and hide away a little bit. At Chelsea, I think a bad run of games, and there are people start talking about, is he good enough? Does he need to be chopped? Not literally, but just in terms of his role as a head coach, I think he has to start installing what he wants to get out of this team. And I think there are sort of changes, like you said, Sanchez, Jurgensen playing out from the back, Garnacho, or the left-sided winger is always the one that's unoccupied with the ball, and they try and transition it over to him. So there are subtle tweets in there, but what did you make? I mean, I've done previews and reviews of the Arsenal and the Charlton games, but what did you think about the Brentford game at the weekend, which was a resounding, I thought, a 2-0. It wasn't the best comfortable game, but it's 3 points, and I think that's what I take away from those games. But what did you take from it? You was obviously there, Stamford Bridge, his first home game, I believe, in the Premier League. So
Yeah, first home game in the Premier League. I'm just going to piggyback on what you said before about, it's a massive jump for him, from managing Hull City, Derby
yeah,
County, Strasbourg to coming to Chelsea, where the expectations are to, compete for silverware. It's a huge, huge jump. I'll give him his praises. He, top of the Conference League table with
yeah,
Strasbourg. I think currently, I think sixth or seventh in the League 1. So yeah, he's done well there. But I do worry that we've kind of seen it recently that rival fans maybe and people around the press maybe aren't taking him as seriously, like, comparing him to this kind of David Brent style character. I think there's all these like fake rumors coming around that he doesn't wear gloves in training so the players can hear his applause. That
What,
he
what's
kind of
what's what's
has.
this about Lego as well? I read something about
Yeah,
Lego.
I was going to say that. Apparently, one of his favorite team bonding activities is Lego. But he was quite quick to shut down all those rumors. So it seems like he's not taking any shit from from the press, from the tabloids. And I think there was even a picture of him wearing gloves in
Yeah,
training. So
yeah.
that was quickly put to bed. But yeah, in regards to our two home performances under him, Arsenal and Brentford, I don't think we played that well. I'll be very, very honest. I
Mm,
think we were lucky against Arsenal. I mean, lucky and unlucky because I think if Sanchez maybe plays like he has all season, we don't concede those two goals, and
yeah,
then maybe Arsenal are kind of pushing for that for the opening goal. I think our goals as well, Garnacho, right place, right time as well. But other than that, we didn't really have any clear cut chances. I felt,
mm,
and maybe even the second goal, if it's Raya in goal, you maybe think potentially he saves it. Um, Game against Brentford, again, I don't think we did play that well. I really
mm,
don't. I mean, Joao Pedro, brilliant goal. Shame that VAR kind of delayed the celebrations, and then the penalty, great chasing down from Delap. But again, we capitalised on a mistake from the Brentford defence and the goalkeeper. But
mm,
Brentford could have easily been back in the game, particularly at the start of that second half. And it seems to be the same kind of shades of, or same patterns we saw under Maresca, where we score the opening goal, then invite pressure early on in the second half. It reminded me a lot of that Everton game at home before Christmas, where we didn't
yeah,
particularly play well, but we managed to get a 2-0 win and a clean sheet. But very easily could have been one of those games that goes down the same path as Sunderland at home,
mm.
Brighton at home, where we score the opening goal, but then we just collapse and we concede a couple goals in the second half. But yeah, on paper, right now we just need 3 points, and that's what we got, 3 points. So big 3 points, and hopefully we can add to that with an away win on this weekend against Crystal Palace.
Yeah, it's a massive game coming up this weekend. I think with Liam Rosenior, I think one of the things I've noticed, and I got to see it. I did a watch along for the game on Saturday, just gone, and it's so easy when we lose. But I mean, look, we play with a high risk now. I think when you mentioned it with Sanchez, or the goalkeeper coming out and almost being that 11th man, being part of the defensive line. If we lose that ball, it's very easy that we're opened up and we're backpedaling, and we're outnumbered almost in defense because of how we're playing it. High up the high line. We've got Sanchez or Jurgensen off their line. They're almost being the third, centre back or part of the centre back partnership. And I think there was many times, I think it was Schade for Brentford. I mean, I don't know why he doesn't shoot. I mean, he's
Mm.
clearly he cuts in. I think Trevor Chalobah, sits him down, and Sanchez to credit him. I think it ricochets off Tosin. Sanchez has to save it, and then it's just a bit of a melee in between it. But I think those things, for me, I am concerned about him this season. What I would like to think we're trying to do in this January transfer window, and definitely in the summer transfer window, is address it by bringing in some ball playing centre backs, some players in the defensive line that are a bit more comfortable, confident playing out from the back. And it's going to sound really bad as well, but they're better defenders than what we currently have, because we do. If we want to play this way with Liam Rosenior, we need to bring in defenders that are maybe just a level up from the Tosins of the world. You know, no criticism to him, but it just doesn't seem like we can play. And maybe this is why Maresca stopped playing the way he did. If you remember, we were trying to play out from the back, then we suddenly changed from that to sort of playing out wide areas and then trying to transition it down the wider areas of the pitch, and then we was actually going long ball at some point. So I do think the centre backs are a big thing in order for Liam Rosenior to play the way he wants to play with this team.
Absolutely, yeah, and I think, that Sanchez save when we're 1-0 up, if that Kevin Chada goal goes in, I think it's a completely different game. So Sanchez
100%.
kept us in the game, but yeah, there still seems to be these kind of little lapses in concentration. We saw it against Arsenal. I think stupid. I think it was, when we tried to almost the centre back pass it to the goalkeeper from the goal kick in a way, and I think the centre back misplaced that pass to Sanchez, and then I think the referee, because there was encroachment or something, we ended up having to retake it. But it's small things like this we just need to cut out of our game, and centre
Mm,
backs need to be a lot more kind of compact as well, because a lot of the
yeah,
time I think it was Tosin and Chalobah against Brentford. They were very very open. I did feel for Rosenior slightly against Arsenal because our bench was quite weakened. We had a lot of players missing out due to illness, and I think we had about 3 or 4 different combinations of back four throughout that game. I think we had a Champong, Hato, Badiashile, all these different players play a part. But I'm really hoping maybe when we get to this February period, we get rid of the players, or we get the players we want. That Rosenior's got more of an idea of who his strongest 11 is,
yeah,
and also when this virus leaves Cobham as well, we have
yeah,
all of our players back from this illness, because apparently a few of them are still coughing around
yeah,
Cobham. I think Enzo Fernandez is the latest victim of the virus. Then we'll be up and running again. But yeah, I feel like I do want to give Rosenior time, but also sometimes time isn't a thing you have at Chelsea. We saw that with
yeah.
Potter; it wasn't even given a summer. But yeah, I'm quite confident, despite our performances, he'll make it to the summer, and then I'll probably judge him maybe September, October next year.
Yeah, I think he still need. Yeah, I
This
agree.
year, sorry.
Yeah,
Mm.
I think he needs 100% needs a clear run for the rest of this season. And I don't mean that he's allowed to lose games, or we should expect low expectations from the performances. I think we still need to keep those standards very high. But I think there are going to be tweaks, mistakes made along the road. There are going to be makeshift lineups, because he needs to understand who is his best lineup. Is Lavia part of that when he's back in the team? Asugo. So I think there are things that he's going to want to hopefully, or plays he's going to want to try and test out and see if they fit his system. And if they don't, then there's a conversation to be had in the summer. Do we keep them? Do we loan them? Or do we sell them? So yeah, I agree with you 100%. We need to see a little bit
Mm.
more from Rosenior in the next couple of months or so. But
Yeah.
Cole Palmer, I mean, we he's been the talk of the town on social media this week with obviously the penalty that he scored, he converted, but there were muted celebrations, and I don't know if this is just Chelsea fans kind of going a bit overboard in terms of. 'Cause, I mean, Cole Palmer's never strikes me as a Alan Shearer hand in the air sort of celebration, or a nanny with the acrobatic backflips. He's not really eccentric with the celebration. So is this just a case of Chelsea fans almost being a bit over critical, overthinking of Cole Palmer? Um, there were signs he walked down a tunnel, didn't really engage with his teammates, but he did walk down a tunnel at the end of the game, ignored a lot of players. I think Lavia tried to speak to him, and there was a video that you posted of him just looking extremely shattered on the pitch at full time. But do you feel like there's more to this story about Cole Palmer not really tuned in at Chelsea at the moment? There's a lot of stories about him.
Yeah, I feel like, I think this time last season I said he doesn't really feel the pressure, but I think maybe currently he is maybe feeling the pressure. He is kind of branded as Chelsea's poster boy. he is a very marketable in the way he's one of the best English players out there. He had a fantastic Euros last summer, fantastic Club World Cup. I think he finished, I think, sixth or seventh in the Ballon d'Or rankings, or I think within the top 10.
Yeah,
So there is a kind of a lot of expectations after he started his career at Chelsea so well. And I think I tried always not to overanalyze things, but against Brentford, there were a few little moments where I thought this is not the same Cole Palmer. I mean, the first one was, like you pointed out, the celebration after he scored the penalty. I think the only goal he's ever scored for Chelsea where he didn't do his trademark cold celebration. I think he pointed to his ear almost, or I don't know what he was doing by
yeah,
that. I think he was trying to get something out of his ear, but it just seemed like he wasn't that bothered, or maybe he was feeling pain having shot the penalty. And then, like you said, the video that I posted on Instagram and Twitter of how he reacted at the full-time whistle, just collapsed to the ground and seemed to have some kind of compression strap wrapped around his groin area or his upper thigh, which clearly indicates that he's not fit to play. And he looked in
mm,
pain. I think at times when he doesn't have the ball at his feet, he's almost limping, or he's not really um, walking around as fluidly, walking a bit gingerly around the pitch. Um, so yeah, it seems like he definitely needs to. I hate to say it, but maybe have surgery like Enzo Fernandez did to fix this recurring injury, because that did the job for Enzo Fernandez, and it might be needed for Cole Palmer. And I think there's a lot of truth with what Maresca was saying, being forced to play certain players that maybe aren't fit, or
mm,
miscommunications with the medical staff. And Cole Palmer at the moment, I think, maybe was rushed back from that groin injury end of
yeah,
November time, where in reality could have maybe had a return date set for beginning of the year, January. And
mm,
it seems like we're not really seeing the best of Cole Palmer. I think since he's returned back from his injury, he's only gotten the one goal against Everton, and I think he scored also against Brentford as well. But yeah, I feel like a lot of pressure is being put on him. I think maybe the ownership, given they know how valuable he is to us, they may be almost forcing whichever manager it is to play him, for him to play through the pain, and maybe for him to consider surgery in the summer when there's no club football around. But obviously, we know the summer there's the World Cup. He'll want to
yeah,
play at a World Cup. Footballers nowadays, they only have about 3 or 4 World Cups in them if they're at the very best of their level.
mm,
So yeah, a big dilemma. But whatever it is, we want to see Cole Palmer back to his best. There's also this big
mm,
dilemma whether he's better in the number 10 or on the wing. And maybe we saw the best of Cole Palmer in the wing when he was playing under Pochettino. But um, but yeah, brilliant player. But it's clear that this season he hasn't been up and running and playing to the best of his abilities.
mm. And I did say this. I said it on Twitter. I think I said it on a few videos before that I don't think Cole Palmer, and I don't mean, and maybe I should have said this in a different way at the time when I said it, but I don't think he just walks back into our starting 11. I really don't. I'm not basing this on ability or quality because we know he's got it in his locker. We know what he's capable of, but you, you don't, because we know that he's coming back from an injury that is clearly, a niggling injury. It's still there, underlying injury. You don't just throw him back into a game. And I watched the game against Brentford, and he hardly ran. I'd love to know what his distance was covered in the game because he couldn't run. And you could, I said it on the watch along on YouTube. He just doesn't. He's not mobile. He's not running. He's getting the ball. There's a moment where I think he was trying to take someone on, and he just falls flat face first to the ground, and he doesn't get up straight away. He's almost, you can tell that he's in pain. He's in agony. So I just think for me, from a medical Chelsea point of view, by not getting this surgery and not doing it now, or maybe if you've done it, I'm trying to think when he got injured. Was it October, November last
It was
year?
end of September against
End of
Manchester
September. Was it
United. Yeah,
Manchester United? I thought it was a West Ham game, but it was a United game. And that's probably the point where you go, right, surgery. He'd probably be on the road to recovery throughout, October, November, the Christmas period. You might see him at the back end of this season. But I feel with the cover that we had with Esteval, who's hardly started games, someone that could come in off the right, play very good football. We could use Santos and Enzo as the 10, which we've done in recent times as well. Obviously, at the time we had Buonanotte, which I thought was the cover for why we brought Buonanotte, and apparently it's because of the Cole Palmer injury. And we've got wide areas on the left that we've got cover for Gittins, Garnacho, Pedro Neto. So for me, I think Chelsea have messed up here, and I think Chelsea seriously should have at that point in September got him the surgery that he needed,
mm.
and he would have been back in March, maybe April, fit enough for the World Cup. Because now he's put his World Cup hopes in jeopardy by not getting his surgery. I can't see him going. If he's not fit now, there's no way he's going to be fit for the World Cup.
Yeah, you just reminded me because I'm actually remembering now. He pulled out of the squad in the warm up against West Ham, I think end of
Yeah, he
August
did.
time,
Esteval came
and
on.
then Esteval came in on for him like literally like 15, 20 minutes before kickoff.
Yeah,
And then I think that forced us to sign Buonanotte as an emergency loan. And the plan
yeah,
was apparently only to have him for 6 months to act as cover for
mm,
Cole Palmer.
yeah,
I don't know how true that is. And then I think we still played Cole Palmer in these games against Bayern, Brentford, and Manchester United in September when clearly he was still injured.
yeah,
And then I think 10 minutes into that Manchester United game at Old Trafford, he goes off pointing
yeah,
to his groin saying, I'm injured, I can't play. And then I think he was only able to come back into the team in beginning of December, I think, against Leeds. I think that's when he made his
yeah,
first appearance again, or it might have been
yeah,
Bournemouth. But clearly, like you said, I think that September period would have been crucial for our medical team to say he needs surgery. It's clearly a groin issue. It might even be like a hernia or a muscle strain like Enzo Fernandez had.
yeah.
And
Could be a tear.
that's could be a tear. I mean, I've had a hernia, I've had a muscle strain, and it's this type of pain that stops you from twisting, from turning, and the
Yeah,
pain almost throbs down all the way down your leg. So
mm,
yeah, it's a very painful kind of injury or issue
mm.
to deal with. But right now with the competition around him, it's going to be very very hard for him to get into that England team, especially if he's still
Oh yeah,
showing signs of not being fully fit, and also if he's not able to get regular game time on the pitch because of always having to
mm.
be in and out the team. I mean, we're going to do our Pafos kind of predicted lineups after, but I can't see him maybe even starting or being on the bench tonight.
No, I wouldn't put him in. I would not put him in at all. Let's hope he does. I mean, let's hope he does. Somehow
Yeah,
rediscover the form. Maybe a couple of games out, he can recover a bit more. But I think the grand scheme of things, if you're a Chelsea fan, you can clearly see there's something wrong with him. But let us know what you think in the comment section. Is Cole Palmer expected to be on that plane? Should we be giving him an indefinite rest, or does he need surgery? Let us know what you think in the comment section on YouTube or on Spotify as well. Let's talk quickly some transfers before we get on to Paphos, because we've got a new centre back coming in. I'm rubbing my hands if you can't see. I'm rubbing my hands. We've got a new centre back, but it's a centre back I didn't want, and I think it's a centre back we don't need. Um, Jeremy Jacquet, I think Jacquet, is that how you pronounce the pronunciation? Um, Before we get into him, Mark Guehi going for 20 million to City is an absolute steal. And I know he's on a good amount of money. I think it's in the region of £300,000 a week. But when you look at what we're paying for a 20-year-old from Liga, who apparently is the next thing since Paolo Maldini, um, you just think, would it been better to maybe use that money? Maybe Mark Guehi didn't want to move, but Marcos Senesi is also another option for me. But Jeremy Jacquet, explain to me why we should sign him or why we shouldn't sign him.
yeah, 20-year-old playing for Rennes. I mean, Rennes, we know historically they do produce some top talent. I
Yeah,
think Ousmane Dembele started his career there. Doué as well from Paris Saint Germain,
Desiree
and
Doué. Yeah,
we signed Edouard Mendy from Rennes. They're also a selling club. I mean, it's quite fortunate for these clubs sometimes when these players get to that level. Often they
mm,
do look for the next big move for their careers. 20-year-old centre back, supposedly really good. I don't watch much of Ligue 1, but very a lot of hype, a lot of excitement to the point where Rennes even value him at 65 million euros, which for
mm,
me sounds like a crazy amount. But at the same time, can you blame them for wanting to lose one of their top talents midway through the season? This must be quite. I mean, they're in a position where they can just maybe ask Chelsea for these crazy prices, knowing that we're willing to spend it at times. But for me, it seems like we've got Axel Disasi back in training now, who seems to be acting as cover for Tosin, who pulled up with a hamstring injury against Brentford.
yeah,
And we've
yeah,
also got two centre backs we don't really mention too much in this podcast, but we've got Mamadou Sarr, who just won AFCON with Senegal, who's on loan at Strasbourg. And we've also got Anselmino, who I think when he's played
yeah,
for Dortmund's looked really, really sharp. So two
yeah,
centre backs, similar age, similar profile. And it's almost a question of like, are we just buying these centre backs now to loan out another one and kind of almost just have the bodies in the team? Or are we even considering what we currently have in the team before signing them? So I'm almost tempted to say it's not really an option we need right now. I think we should maybe make the most out of the current bodies we have in our squad, whether that be Colwell coming back from injury, I think, end of the season, whether that be Anselmino, whether that be Mamadou Sarr. We have to remember in the summer we still had Renato Vega on our books as well, who we sold to Villarreal. So it's a lot of these centre backs, I
yeah,
think, we do have the potential. And when they've played, they've actually looked decent. But instead, we much rather spend another 50, 60 million on another, you know, player. But like you said, Guehi would have been, knows the league, comes from the academy, um, brilliant player at Manchester, Crystal Palace, won the FA Cup there. Um, but I think there was a bit of maybe bad blood when he left. I think I saw a
Uh,
quote of what he said about Chelsea fans compared to Crystal Palace fans when he made his
yeah,
debut for
yeah.
Palace at Stamford Bridge. But
I was
yeah,
going
I
to
think
ask
that's
you
the
that.
type of player I would have been all over. I mean, both me and you
Mm.
share the same thoughts about what getting an experienced centre back, whether that be like a Antonio Rudiger, a Bastoni. But it seems like that's completely not in the model of our transfer strategy. But yeah,
Mm.
Jeremy Jacquet. I think the plan now is maybe to sign him and then loan him back to Hen. But then will
And
he cobble
I
back in the
don't
summer?
understand that.
So I
That
think the
doesn't
idea
make
is
any
to sign
sense.
someone who can come in the team now. So it doesn't make any
Yeah.
sense at all, does it?
Yeah, and I just think with look, I mean, look, Mark Guehi, someone offers you 300 grand. We were never going to offer you the wages that City are going to offer you, but it does tell me something that a ex Chelsea academy graduate who, yes, maybe didn't have the best of times when he was first at the his first stint at the club, doesn't want to come back to the club, and that always tells me something. Is it just the money talking? Is it the fact that he's getting 300 grand a week, which is fair enough? But I think there's better options out there. Like I said, Marcos Senesi for me. I'm not saying he's the needle mover at all. I don't think he is, but I do think we need reinforcements in this window if we're going to try and attempt to play how Liam Rosenior wants us to play. A big question mark around Axel Disasi, who's been frozen out for so long. There's actually talk about Axel Disasi getting a loan move this window because he's missed that much football. He just won't be up to speed. And I think Liam Rosenior mentioned that he's not up to speed at all, although he's been playing for the under 21s. He's just not up to speed with things in terms of fitness and training, and obviously within the men's setup at Chelsea. So there could be a loan move for him. I just don't understand it. I really don't understand the idea of having all these centre backs, like you said, Mamadou Sarr and Slimino. There should be a recall clause in one of their contracts, their loan deals, to bring one of those back, rather than we go out and spend 60 or close to 70 million pounds or euros on a player that, I'll be honest, I don't know much about. I do not know much about him. One thing and one person who will is Liam Rosenior, who potentially would have been following him in, at Strasbourg while he was there. But I just feel like this is a bit of a, I think you just said it. It feels like it's a deal that in 12, 18 months we'll be trying to sell him for 90 million, or we'll try and sell him for 100 million if he plays well for us. I just feel like it's one of those deals.
Yeah, or it's one of those ones where we just sell him to Strasbourg. If you remember, was it Matisse
Uh,
Amagu who we signed for
Amagu.
6 months? Yeah, and then we signed him from Saint Etienne, and then he went. I think he was on the bench in the Conference League final, and that's the only time we saw his face. And then he was sold to Strasbourg. But
He
yeah, I
didn't
feel
make
like
an appearance, did he? I don't think he even made one
he
appearance
might
for
have come
us.
off the bench against Gardens or Copenhagen when we'd really pretty much secured qualification. But yeah, it seems like we're playing musical chairs right now
Yeah,
with our
yeah,
loanees. I think there's talks of Kendry Paez and Datro Fofana being recalled
coming back.
to then
Yeah,
sell Fofana and then maybe loan Paez to a Championship or a Premier League club to free
yeah,
up 2 European loan spots for potentially Disasi, potentially Jeremy Jacquet, potentially I think there's also talks of Madrid now being back and maybe being loaned to Strasbourg. There's not much truth
mm,
into that, so don't quote me on that. But yeah, I feel like it's quite hard to keep tabs on all of our loan leads and who'll be back here on preseason. And then we might get to the point where we get to preseason and we see all these memes of all these like, Chelsea's gym during preseason with all the loanees returning. And that's when you
yeah,
get a situation where like you might have to look at like a Chalobah or a homegrown talent. And again, the owners see that as pure profit to sell them to again fund these moves for these Jeremy Jacquets, these other talents of abroad.
mm,
But if you remember back in the summer, we were linked to Guehi, but we decided to maybe have a Champong as cover for Cole's injury at right centre
mm,
back. So instead, we opted for that. I'm still not against using Chalobah and maybe Hato as cover at centre back, but yeah, it just seems like there's a lot of uncertainty and confusion
mm,
um, around players. And if you are going to sign someone, it should be someone who can play immediately, not be loaned back to
mm.
the team that they're coming from for 6 months.
Again, not a needle mover for me, but Nathan Ake. I mean, I think we were linked to
Yeah,
him
yeah,
as
yeah,
well.
yeah,
So
yeah.
I think someone who's experienced in the league understands it. Obviously, ex Chelsea again as well. So I do think that would have been a deal that I would have tried to get done. Maybe we still try and get it done with Guehi going. They are heavily stacked. John Stones, Gravadio.
A lot of
Ake,
injuries though in their
yeah,
defense though.
but Kuzanav's come in now. He's doing well for them. I mean, he had a nightmare against us on his debut. I don't know if you remember Kuzanev for City. His debut was
Mm,
horrible. I think he got subbed actually in the first half against us. But yeah, I mean, for me, Nathan Ake, I want someone who's going to be able to come in and just cover over a crack. And I feel like that's Senesi, Nathan Ake, would have been Mark Guehi. It would have been someone who you just know you can sort of trust in a couple of games, but in the summer, you know you need to go and get the Rolls Royce of a centre back in the summer. But it's Chelsea. I don't think it's going to happen. I wish it was, but I don't think it is.
there was a player that ticks all those boxes, our favorite Brazilian, who 41
Yes,
years old, but we obviously we didn't go for that. Now he's playing the best football for
and he
Porto.
kept
I
a
think two
kept
two
a
clean
clean
sheets
sheet.
on his opening two
Yeah,
games.
I mean, come
Saw
on.
some crazy stats, and just for those who aren't aware of who we're talking about, it's Thiago Silva, who
Yeah.
was available on a free after terminating his contract with Fluminense. Now he's playing in Porto. But
Mm.
yeah, that would have been a perfect move, like last little dance for Chelsea in the Premier League, 6 months,
I,
maybe potentially even a year. But no,
I, don't-
instead we're signing a 20-year-old from Ligue 1.
You never know. We could roll out. I mean, he could become the most old. I need to Google this, but he might become the oldest Premier League player if we was to sign him after his time at Porto. I can't see it happening, but yeah, we missed the boat with Thiago Silva. We should have got him back, and we should have been able to get him in. Recall Mamadou Sarr or Anselmino, and then you've got yourself a lovely centre back partnership. But who knows? Let's move on. Let's move on to Pafos tonight, Champions League, Stamford Bridge under the lights. Let's go. I think this is such a massive game that it's kind of gone under the radar how big the game is. I really do. I think you want to win this game because I think going to Napoli is going to be extremely hard in a couple of weeks' time, and I think this is the game where you convincingly win, and you're still going to need a win in Naples. You're still going to have to go and beat Napoli, but you've given yourself the opportunity to get into that top eight in the Champions League. What do you think? This is our first time, I think, playing Paphos in any competition. Mixed bag of results for them of recent time. Return of David Luiz as well. What's your thoughts?
Yeah, I think you're right. First time we've had a competitive meeting with Pafos. So Chelsea, we're currently on 10 points from 6 group games. So that's 2 defeats, 3 wins, and 1 draw, which, in complete honesty, I think we should be doing better than that. So we're currently on 10 points, but a win tonight against Pafos would put us on 13 points, which would then mean us going into that Napoli game, pushing for that top eight. And then we can avoid those 2 playoff matches. I think they played back-to-back weeks in February, midweek.
Yeah.
We want to avoid those because there's still a lot of good teams in that kind of middle of the pack area. We saw Sporting yesterday get a win against Paris, and they're going to be in that kind
Bodo
of
Glimt
mix of
as well.
teams. Bodo Glimt, yeah, but Pafos have 6 points and still have a shot of progressing themselves, so they've still got a lot to play for tonight. But like you said, huge game, must win. I mean, if you go from 10 to 13 points, you pretty much guarantee yourself top, qualifying to that playoff stage in February. That being said, we shouldn't underestimate Paphos. I feel
Yeah,
like these
agreed.
Cypriot teams, Cypriot Greek teams, they have a big fan base. I think I put a tweet up, a throwback tweet of one of my first Chelsea matches was against Apoel Nicosia back in
Yeah,
2009, and I actually had to Google the score of that game, but we drew 2-2
yeah,
against
yeah.
Apoel. So yeah, it can't be we can't take them,
It's
can't
not.
take
It's
them
not a
lightly.
banker. It's not a banker
It's
at
not
all.
a banker. It's
Yeah.
not. It's not at all. And if I saw a couple of their results in the Champions League, 2-2 draw with Monaco, 0-0 draw with Olympiacos, and they actually beat Villarreal 1-0 in I think early on in the Champions League. And Villarreal are flying high in the La Liga at the moment, so
Yeah. So
a
tells you.
good
Yeah.
team. And they're second in the Cypriot League, just behind Omania, I believe. Players to watch, you mentioned him, David Luiz, Champions League winner with us. And
Mm.
last time he played against us in the Champions League, he did score, I think, a header from that corner that
He
still
did.
haunts us with Paris.
Yeah.
So I think he's a doubt though, but I think given the importance of the game, they might risk him and play him, and he'll want to return to Stamford Bridge. Another player that I had to almost, be like, is that the same player that we used to play for Southampton for Dinamo Zagreb? But Orsic, the Croatian striker, and Chelsea fans
Okay.
should be familiar with him because he's the one who scored for Dinamo Zagreb on Tuchel's final game that got him the sack.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so he's currently playing for Pafos, so watch him maybe
Okay, okay.
get a goal tonight. They've got a Brazilian striker called Anderson, who's decent, and a big Dutch centre back called Lucassen, who
Yeah, he's good.
might be up for it. I think he scored. I think against was it against Kairat or in the draw against Monaco.
Yeah.
But yeah, we've got a lot of players returning from illness or from injury. We've got Esteban Willian back in. Gittins is back.
Mm,
Gusto's recovered from his knock. I think Enzo Fernandez might be a doubt. I think he trained recently, but apparently also caught that virus or the flu that was lingering around Stamford, Cobham and Stamford Bridge. But yeah, must win game. If I'm completely honest, I am optimistic. I do think
yeah.
we have enough depth in the team and on the bench to get 3 points. And again, like I always say, if you can't beat Pafos at home, this is no disrespect to Pafos,
Yeah, no, of
but
course not.
you shouldn't be anywhere near that top 16. They are. This can be a banana slip fixture, banana skin fixture. We saw it with City yesterday against Bodo Glimt.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
We saw, I think, Bodo as well. I think got a draw against Tottenham, and even us with Karabakh. I think a lot of Chelsea fans expected us to go into that game
Washed them away.
in Baku, Azerbaijan, win them, but we didn't. So yeah, we can't underestimate them. But I still think we need to be getting 3 points, and it has to be a comfortable win as well.
Yeah, I agree. I agree 100%. I think look, I think when you don't know much about a team, it's very dangerous to walk into it with the expectation you're just going to win the game. I think I've said on yesterday's match preview as well. I don't know much about Paphos. Ammonia, I do. Obviously, I've got friends who support the club, but yeah, it's very dangerous to go into a game, especially as Chelsea as well, because we've been inconsistent. Let's be honest, we've been inconsistent this season. Where the games that we think we should win, we actually struggling. I'm thinking back to the Cardiff game, even Charlton in the FA Cup as well. Bournemouth, Leeds, where we
Lincoln,
lost,
yeah,
Lincoln. So there's been games where you think actually it doesn't matter who you put out. You could put out, some of should we call it the B team, whatever you want to call it, but you can put out the team that isn't regular, 3 p.m. every Saturday. You could put that team out and they should still do a job. And sometimes they don't, they struggle. We've known about the low block issues at this club for so long. Um, I think personally, I think it will be interesting who Liam Rosenior picks in his lineup because I think that will tell me a lot about because this is his first Champions League game. He's going to want to win it. He's obviously had experience in the Conference League. I think they beat Palace at Strasbourg with the conference in the Conference League this season. So he's got experience, European sort of experience. We know that, but Champions League again, it doesn't matter who you're playing. It's a massive step up from again, no disrespect, we've been there, but the Conference League is one thing. The Champions League is totally different. And like I said, I think this game is heavily important because if we lose tonight, that game against Napoli and results around us as well is a big factor. Is something that we I think we'll struggle. I think we struggle against Napoli based on our form. So we have to win tonight. This has to be a must-win game. Um, Preferred lineups. Let's jump into our preferred lineups.
yeah.
Um, I think I've actually got
We've
yours on screen.
we've posted those on the socials. I posted them just before our recording, so I've got them both here as well. Yeah.
One second.
So I've gone with where is it? There we go. I've got a mix of a bit maybe players that impressed perhaps against Charlton and deserve a chance, but also a couple of players that we know can maybe get the job done in a fixture like this. I still think I rather Sanchez than Jorgensen, even though I think Jorgensen will play. This is my preferred lineup, and I've gone with Robert Sanchez in goal. If he can pull off saves like he did against Brentford, then he's a keeper that can definitely keep us in these games and get us 3 points. I think it was John Terry who said that it was a goalkeeper, a striker wins you games, but a goalkeeper wins you leagues. And right now, I
Yeah,
don't think Sanchez
100%.
is that keeper that wins the league, but he's definitely proving himself this season. I've
Yeah.
gone with Hato left back, with Badiashile and Chalobah as my two centre backs, and Gusto right back now that he's recovered from his knock. And hopefully that means we can keep James for Saturday against Palace. But again, all these options will be on the bench should we need any kind of halftime changes. But I've gone with Caicedo and Santos as my two midfielders, given maybe Enzo might be a bit of a doubt or not fully fit. I've gone with Estevao as the 10. Again, I think now that Buonanotte has been recalled by Brighton and loaned out to Leeds. And we've Cole Palmer, we spoke about him earlier on the recording about maybe him being a doubt or not being risked in a game like this, I'll go on with Esteval as the 10, with Gittins and Garnacho as the two wingers, who are the two wingers that started against Charlton, and the same striker who started against Charlton, I think performed earlier in the Champions League against the likes of Ajax. It's Marquis, which means we've got a lot of options on the bench for this lineup with Delap, Joao Pedro, potentially Enzo Fernandez. I mean, Sugo might be on the bench, Palmer perhaps, Pedro Neto. But I think this lineup should have enough in it to get the job done, and then maybe, or if they aren't able to get it done, then we've got the option on the bench. But quite frankly, if this starting 11 can't get a couple goals against Pafos, then I do worry about maybe the futures of some of these players.
Yeah, 100%, 100%. I just wanted to ask you a question on your lineup
Mm,
before I show you my lineup. So Mark Gui, I'm a big fan of, and I'm still a big
mm,
fan of, but I do feel I don't know. I don't know if it's a confidence thing with him because I watched him against Arsenal. I think he played the first half of the Arsenal League Cup game. I think if I remember correctly, and he looked so good when we watched him in the Conference League. And he knows how to sort of hold up the ball and use his body, use his strength well. But I feel like in this game, do you feel like he's going to get more opportunities on the ball? I mean, I'm thinking against Arsenal, he was up against Gabriel Saliba. Tonight, he's potentially up against David Luiz and others at the back. Um, Lucazen, I think you mentioned as well, the Dutch centre back. He's going to be up against players that he should be able to cope with in the role that he's going to be playing. Do you think he'll get more opportunities tonight?
absolutely. I mean, when you're playing against one of the top centre back partnerships in Gabriel and Saliba, it's always going to be tough. But also, I did feel like a lot of times it's not just Mark Gui, it's been Joao Pedro, Liam Delap when they played this season. They have been isolated, they haven't really been
Yeah,
given the service they deserve. But I am hoping today the likes of Esteval, Gittins, if he puts good balls in the box like he did against
mm,
Charlton, they'll offer service for Mark Gui. And if I'm completely honest, I actually expect Gui to score if he does play today.
yeah,
Similarly, how he
yeah,
got a goal against Ajax in the Conference League, he got some goals against think was it against Astana and against Shamrock Rovers.
yeah.
So yeah, I think it'll be type of game where he could definitely perform and put himself back in the spotlight for Rosenior's squad selection in the Premier League.
Yeah, because I'm a big fan of him, and I agree with you. I think he'll get opportunity tonight. I'm a big fan of what he can do. I love, like I said, he runs into those spaces really well. And I think the key thing tonight, if he does start, is going to be like you said, Gittins, Garnacho, even Esteval. Esteval's got a big job if he does play in that 10, is linking up the play with Mark Gui and giving him opportunities. But I want to see us take more shots. I think with Liam Rosenior, his idea is to retain the ball, work it around the defenders, get it into some open space, and which I think tonight, if it is Gittins, use that space and then try and take on one of the centre backs or the right back. But we need to see something from this team in the first half because if we don't, I think Stamford Bridge. I mean, it's meant to be not full to capacity tonight, but I think it can become a hostile place if we're not getting a result. So I think we need to see something from this team in the first half.
Absolutely, yeah. Yeah, it'll be a big game for Gui. But I expect him to get that service. And it's no, again, no disrespect to Pafos, but you're playing Pafos. It's not Arsenal. It's not
Yeah,
that
yeah.
same kind of like defensive stability as Arsenal. I hate to say, but probably one of the best defensive teams in Europe right now. So
Mm.
yeah, Mark Gui, big game for him. And we actually also remember we've got Emmanuel and Mega coming in the summer, who Liam
Yeah,
Rosenior
yeah.
knows really well from Strasbourg. So there's a bit of pressure on Mark Gui because do you have Delap, João Pedro, Mark Gui, and Omega all at the team, or do you maybe look to maybe sell or loan one of the four of them?
It's an interesting dilemma for Liam Rosenior. I have made slight changes to my lineup, but I haven't gone
Mhm.
with Mark Gui. I've gone with Liam Delap as the number 9. Not because he done press duties yesterday, and I think he's actually on the match day, the official match day image for Chelsea. But I think Liam Delap and Liam Rosenior, I think we're going to see a lot more of that sort of trust between the two of them um, throughout the rest of this season. I think he'll probably be his go-to in terms of strikers, and I think, like I said earlier on in the podcast, this could be a game where I'm not saying you put out your best 11, but you test what you think could be an option for you in certain games given the opposition we're playing tonight. But I've gone with Liam Delap. If I remember correctly, I'm trying to test my memory now. I think I went with Garnacho on the left,
I've got yours here actually.
Esteval on the right, with Enzo Fernandez in the 10, and I think
You
everything.
did, yeah.
Oh, and then I went with
You had
Achiampong as right back.
a Champong as a right back, that's right.
Yeah. Oh, and I think I had Jurgensen in goal because I think I said yesterday on the match preview, it could be a toss of a coin. I'll be honest. I'm thinking about it now, I think it will be Sanchez because I think again you want to give that consistency. A goalkeeper that's I would say is in some form, has improved over the last 12 months. You do want to give that to Sanchez, but I just worry with in fact, I am gonna change it. It's my preferred lineup. Sorry, I'm talking myself into something already, but no, I'm gonna go with Sanchez. So I know I've gone for Jurgensen in the earlier social media one that I've put out, but I think it will be Sanchez because again, you want to.
You actually went for Sanchez in
Oh,
your
did I?
image.
In my see,
You did, yeah.
that's how much I've been weighing it up in my head. I thought I went with Jurgensen, but so yeah, here we go. So I've gone with Sanchez in the social media one as well. But I think for the reason that we know we're gonna see him come out and play as we said before, like you mentioned earlier, Theo, he's going to play as that sort of fourth defender in here. Achiampong, I think, will tuck in and help out with the box, which we'll see with Santos potentially going forward. Achiampong, Caicedo, and then there'll be that box that drives forward and helps transition the ball with the lap, Garnacho and Esteval or whoever it is on the wide areas as well. But yeah, I think it's going to be an interesting game. I want to see a convincing game. I think that's the key thing here is a convincing game, and I used that word yesterday. It has to be a convincing game where we look almost like Real Madrid did to Monaco yesterday. That's what I want to see tonight. I want to see an absolute drumming of a performance, and everyone is trying to shoot and score goals. That's what I think it needs to be.
You just mentioned something quite important is shooting and scoring goals. I feel like we're doing that a bit more on the Roseniors, just shooting. I feel
Yeah,
like whereas Maresca, we try to almost build up and then get a clear cut chance. But if guys like Gittins, Garnacho, Gui, Delap have their shooting
mm,
boots on today, I think it could easily be 4 or 5 goals. But yeah, Pafos haven't conceded many in the Champions League so far.
yeah, there's
Even when they
that.
play the likes of I think Juventus, they only lost 2-0. But I am quietly confident for tonight.
Mm, we'll see. We'll see. What's your prediction before we wrap up?
I went on the app, I think last night, and I put 4-1 Chelsea. So I'm gonna stick with that. I'm gonna say 4-1 to Chelsea.
I think I went 3-0 yesterday. I said I want a drumming, but I'll take a 3-0 because I want us to be 3-0, but with 22 shots. I want us to be peppering the goalkeeper and not giving him a minute's piece. So 3-0. 4-1 would be brilliant. 4-1 would be brilliant. But yeah,
Yeah. Not
3-0.
sure what I prefer. I would like a clean sheet as well for whoever
Yeah,
plays as the centre
exactly.
backs. It'd be
Exactly.
good for them. So 3-0, 4-1, we'll take it. But like we discussed, the most important thing is 3 points ahead of that game next week against Napoli.
Yeah, massive game next week, which we'll be checking out on this YouTube channel or Spotify, however you listen to our podcast. Theo, as always, thank you very much. Pleasure. It's good. Hopefully we can get this podcast episode out. You never know. But no, thank you very
I'm
much for
crossing my fingers. I'm crossing my
uh
fingers.
I was crossing a lot more last Friday. I tell you,
Yeah.
it was not good. It was not good. But thank you for joining as always. Anyone that's listening to this, thank you very much. Been a pleasure, obviously. Tuning in with us. So if you're listening, leave your comments below. Get your thoughts down there. The Linktree link is in the description as well. So make sure you head over to our social accounts, subscribe to our YouTube and our Substack as well. And we'll be back soon with another episode of the podcast. Enjoy the game tonight, Theo. I know you're going. So enjoy the game.
Cheers.
Whoever else is going, enjoy it. And we'll be back soon.